Hello.
Hey, how are y'all?
Hi.
I
Doing
apologize. I
well.
think my IT team sabotaged me.
Right.
No worries.
Plus, I think I just got reported to the IT director because I got a notice from an email saying that you are violated our
Oh
policy.
no.
What? Oh
Well, thank you for still
no.
making it.
So I
We truly
apologize.
appreciate
I'm
it.
on my phone. I was going to try to log in through my laptop,
Mm.
but I'm on my phone now, so
Oh,
it kind
no
of
worries.
limits me a little bit. So how are
No
you
No
guys?
worries.
worries.
How's
We're just
everybody
happy
doing?
to have you here.
We
I'm
are
going to
doing well.
change my setup so I can hopefully see a little better.
Okay.
Perfect.
I have my blind glasses on tonight because it's been a whirlwind.
Still working, I see.
I
But thank
am,
you so
and
much for joining us.
if I seem a little distracted, I'm actually waiting for the National Weather Lines to come. I may have
Oh,
to close schools tomorrow.
right.
Oh no.
Okay.
We have about,
Okay.
they're saying 60 to 70-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow, so that could change things a little bit.
In
Oh
Marion County?
yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, well, geez, I hope it's nothing too serious and nothing happens, but kids are always happy for an extra day off.
Oh,
So,
Yep.
yeah, but we have to make it up.
Right.
That's what I don't like
oh
that.
yeah, yeah. True, true.
Make it
Yeah, a
up
lot of
at the
places have been
end.
snowed in and things like that.
Mm.
I wish
Um,
we had some snow. No,
I don't want it.
yeah, let me not say
I
that.
don't want
Let me not say
it.
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
getting more
don't
this
claim
morning.
snow. That's coming Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's just wind.
Oh,
Tuesday snow.
terrifying.
Okay.
Well, I will go ahead and make some introductions. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. This is season 2, episode 2 of Sister Soul Sessions. I am one of your hosts, Brittany, and I am joined by my other 2 hosts of Sister Soul Sessions. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, I am Amanda Armour, the co-host of Sister Soul Sessions. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you, Mr. Carl Day.
I am Brandy. I'm the Executive Creative Director for Sister Soul Sessions, and welcome our guest, Mr. Day. Thank you.
Oh, you guys have all these cool titles. I won't have to. Let me just write myself a couple titles.
And tonight we have a wonderful guest joining us. As many of you guys heard at the beginning, we're joined by Marion County's own superintendent of the educational board system there, Mr. Carl Michael Day. If you would like to make your introductions, let us know a little bit about you and your background.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll start with, I'm one of those that is trying to serve his calling or his purpose. And I'm a true servant for my community and my children. I'll tell you a little quick story. 35 years ago, and I'm not going to tell my age, so don't ask. 35 years ago, I left Marion County and went overseas and joined Peace Corps and did a
Right.
service with them and then worked with the government for a while. And was assigned to work with indigenous tribes and got just a wonderful experience. I've been truly blessed with an opportunity to travel and work with different people from different countries, different nationalities, different races. Just have really been blessed in my opportunities. But I left here running from what I would call the mindset of rural Mississippi.
Yeah.
And that was systemic racism plus other issues and just what I call the redneck mentality as well.
Mhm.
And it's ironic because God has a sense of humor. 25 years later, well, 30 years later, after I ready to close my career out and go do something else and reinvent myself, God brought me back home to kind of close out and retire because my mom got sick and I was going to move back home
Mhm.
Right.
and take care of her until it was her time, and then ended up in the middle of a fight to fight what I ran for him 30 years ago.
Mm.
So it's ironic how God has a sense of humor. I left because of the racism, and now I'm here fighting it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, they have picked the wrong one because I'm a little hood, so I will swing on them.
I know that's right.
And it doesn't matter if they're a senator, if they're a representative,
Right.
Mhm.
or my board of supervisors who I sued and made them pay their child support to the children in my schools.
Mm.
Mhm.
That's a joke, y'all. And I'll be
But
happy to
hey,
tell the
but
story.
honestly, yeah, but honestly, it was
Right,
real.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
and to tell you, so you understand what that meant, the board of supervisors refused to pay their ad valorem tax to the school district because I was
Mm.
talking about merging the schools, and I have 2 schools in my 2 systems. Yeah, I have about 2,500 students with about 374 employees. So I have a pretty large district
Yeah.
that I take care of, and then I serve the local community college as well. But my whole focus and purpose has been to bring equity, not equality, but equity. And there's a big
Right.
difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my school systems is predominantly black, and one is predominantly white. Well, my board of supervisors is made up of 5 people. One's a black minister who's a real good friend of mine. The other 4, their children go to private school.
Mm.
So public education was not a priority for
Right.
them. And they had been used to getting deals under the table where they wouldn't pay their money. So when we tried to merge the schools, I even had threats of, they were going to come to my house and hang me from a tree and all that kind of cool stuff. But at the end of it, we took them to court and they paid. And now we're building, we have 47 construction projects going on, and we're about, all my schools are about to be,
Amazing.
I,
Yeah,
all A's across all schools.
that is
And for
amazing.
the first time, my school, which I call it my black school, but it's my school, my minority children, and they actually had an A school for the first time ever.
Wow,
So
that is
my goal
amazing.
is to provide them with the same set of opportunities that everyone else has. 'Cause we all know they have to be competitive, no matter where they are, with the same children all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, so in any case, I guess my introductory piece is uh, I'm back here serving, trying to be obedient and do what I'm supposed to do, and make a difference for my children in our community. And the most important thing to remember, it's not our children that we see every day, that are here and now, that's the ones we're going to impact the most.
Right.
It's the ones that we don't see from the
Right.
future, their children and their children, breaking generational poverty, breaking generational, mindsets within our community, and getting children to where they believe and see a future that they don't know is there. Um, so that's what I'm about.
I love
Uh,
that.
Okay.
and I have lots of
Now, with the
Very
cool
Peace Corps,
stories.
positive thing.
no, I know you do, and I want to hear one of those actually. So, with the Peace Corps, you going to the Caribbean, you being in Central America, what's one unforgettable experience that shaped your perspective on education when you came back?
I'll tell you a really good story. I speak a lot. I do a lot of motivational speaking, and I'll talk to you later about my thoughts on motivating people, because I don't believe we motivate people anymore. I believe that people have to choose whether they want to self-motivate. And I've been a motivational speaker for years, but I've learned across the years that people make choices. If you want to be great, if you want to be successful, you have to make that choice. You have to be committed, and you have to be passionate, and then you have to be consistent and disciplined about how you approach that. Anybody can achieve anything. Even if you're limited on intellect, you can still go out and make more money than me.
Right.
Because it's all about how hard you're willing to work for it and what you're willing to sacrifice to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was in Peace Corps, I was assigned to the Kalingano indigenous folks. And I was, you're just going to sound like one of those old stories where I had to walk 7 miles uphill in the snow. But we weren't allowed to drive, and I had to walk from village to village, and I would move from one village for about 3 months. I'd work in the schools there, and then I'd go to another village. We did community development projects. We built basketball courts through the Michael Jordan Foundation. So I have a lot of experience, from Peace Corps working with NGOs. But I had been working with a group of kids, and I don't know if you know the British educational system, but after 6th grade, which we would call 6th grade, the kids take the national exam. If they don't score high enough, they don't go on to high school.
Wow.
So that's it for
Yeah.
them. So they either they can go a vocational route, or they can do a trade school. So I was working with a group of kids to try to get them to where they could pass the national exam, the CXC exam, the British exam, so they could move on to high school and go to college. And I had been going back and forth. I was so frustrated. The kids were not doing well. And I kind of got to a point, you feel like you're trying to help people sometimes that you want to help more than they
Yeah.
do. So I kind of reached that point.
Yeah.
And so I was really frustrated. And, I had kids there. They didn't have shoes. They came to work. They came to school hungry. Sometimes they didn't come at all. They had to work on the farms. It's a very different environment working with indigenous. I was on the reservation. And, in the rainforest, survival in life is more important than school sometimes.
Right.
So you dealt with that. I had a lot of domestic violence, a lot of alcoholism on the reservation, and then also, teenagers becoming adults really early. I'm talking about 12 and 13. But with that said, I was really frustrated. And there was this lady We call it, and I won't do the Creole version because I speak French Creole from them. And we call her Madame Mama, and basically we call her Grandma. And she was 92 years old. She had one tooth in her head. She had a dirt floor, and she swept that dirt floor 15 times a day with a little sage broom. And every day I'd go by, I'd walk by our house on my 7-mile trek to that particular village. And she would make me stop on the way home every day and drink coffee because, I like coffee. And if I didn't stop coffee, oh no, she would send children to find me. I had to make sure I stopped. It was not pleasant. She would chase me with a broom and get me. But every day I had to stop, and she would just have the most interesting conversations. She had a elementary education. She had been a teacher for her entire life and had retired. And there you could, once you finish elementary, you can still go back to elementary and teach.
Wow.
Just a fascinating person, but was one of the wisest people I ever met in my life. And it was the first thing that taught me it doesn't matter what kind of degree you have. Wisdom doesn't come with college degrees. I have met and fired many stupid people that had college degrees and PhDs.
Man.
But she told me one day, I was really frustrated, and I was fussing because the kids didn't have shoes, and they come to school, they were really hungry that week, and they weren't really focused. And she looked at me and she called me Becky Chu. I'm not going to tell you what Becky Chu means. I'll tell you what Becky Chu means. It means white butt. I won't use the other word, but that's what she called me. And she said, Becky Chu, she said, I'm going to tell you something. You're the problem. And I kind of paused, and I said, how am I the problem? And she had this laugh with that one tooth, and she would throw her head back. She just had this grandmotherish laugh. And she said, you don't understand, do you? And I said, nope. She said, let somebody old explain it to you. And she said, you're going to school every day, and you're looking at those children, and you're feeling sorry for them. She said, that's the problem. Stop feeling sorry for children and start holding them to the same set of expectations, no matter what their social circumstances are. And she said, you're the problem. Stop lowering your expectations because you're making excuses for them. She said, hold them to the same expectations. They'll rise up to the expectations. And she said, you're doing them a huge disservice. And said, you're cheating them of their future because you feel sorry for them, therefore you lower your expectations. So she taught me that day, from then on, no matter where I was, no matter what classroom or what school or district, never feel sorry for people who are disadvantaged. And most of my life, I'm a servant. Most of my life has been trying to serve others. I learned a long time ago, I learned more from people I try to help than they learn from me in most cases. But she taught me that, and I've always used that and carried it with me. So that's my lesson from my Peace Corps experience with her.
That is amazing.
It is
That's
amazing.
beautiful.
And very deep, very strong.
Yeah, very much so.
I love it. I love it.
And on another session, I'll tell you about me delivering a baby on the bus.
What?
You won't go there tonight.
What? We need to hear this now.
Oh, you want to
deliver a baby on the bus?
I don't know how many people are on, so I want to be careful I don't get in trouble. We were, everybody thought I was a doctor, but I wasn't. I was just a guy out of college thinking I knew the world was what the world was. And actually, I learned, like I said, I learned more from them. They taught me more about farming and development and community growth than I ever thought college could teach me.
Right.
But we were riding the bus, and the bus ride
Indeed, became a doula.
Yes. So the bus ride for about 4.5 hours, 5 hours across the mountains from where we were on the Atlantic coast to the Caribbean coast. And on the bus in front of me, sometimes you had chickens, sometimes you had goats, sometimes you had, just depending on what was going on. When I say bus, I'm talking about like a van with 8 seats.
Yeah.
So that's a bus. And of course you have loud, reggae music. I learned to love reggae music. I still do. But you had there were entertaining trips. And I always had to have the front seat because, trust me, getting car sick on that is completely different than So we were on the trip, and I was sitting in the middle of, because the bus was full when they picked me up. So I got in the open seat next to a couple of ladies and probably the fourth seat back. And in the front of me on the third seat was a lady who was 8 months pregnant. And she was on her way to town to have to the Capitol Rosso. She was going to go into the hospital to have her baby. Well, about 2.5 hours into the trip, on the very tip of the mountain where there's nothing but rainforest, I look down and I'm going, okay, somebody just spilled something, and her water broke.
Mm.
So the poor baby, her water broke, and she starts hollering at the bus driver, I think I'm in trouble. We may have to stop. And this was her first child, so she wasn't really sure what to
Yeah,
do at
yeah,
that point.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
I
there were
know
a
that
couple of older
was so
ladies.
scary.
And see, and I had been working with midwives, so I kind of knew, we were trained as medics, when we went in, so I knew how to deliver a baby, but had never done one.
That's in theory, yeah.
It's very different from watching a video and seeing a baby and looking at pictures, and then you're sitting there going, okay, let's come on
Right.
out. So when the water broke, we stopped, and everybody just turned and looked at me and said, okay, guy, you're the doctor. Deliver the baby. And she said, it's coming, and it was coming. So I get in the seat, and a couple guys give me their T-shirts, and then we take rum, which is all we had on the bus to sanitize with. And I go to, of course I look, and I'm going, okay, I got a problem. The baby had breached. And not only was it breached, so the arm was hanging out and the head was breached, and I'm going, oh, Lord have mercy. So I have to, do what I had to do. I had to reach in, and I found the cord wrapped around the baby's neck. And I'm going, Lord have mercy, this child's going to die on me. And, here, first time I've ever had to try to deliver a baby, and, everything's going wrong according to what I read in the book. And she's like, is everything okay? And she's starting to scream, and they kind of gave her some rum, so she was getting a little happy on me. But I had to push the baby back in, turn the baby, keep my fingers between the cord and the neck to try to keep the oxygen flowing, and then unbreach the baby. And
what? Did you play football in high school?
It
Because
took.
how you
I would say I had lots of experience with women, but that wouldn't have helped with that at all.
Oh my goodness.
So, long story short, when I got the baby turned and got the cord where I could basically pull the baby through, the baby came out, baby was fine, and that was not the worst of my story. So I hand her the baby with the cord, which is a little different than what you see in the books. You don't realize that everything's still connected. This is really gross. Why don't y'all ask me to tell this story?
Because it's intriguing.
So anyway, I handed the baby, and and I'm looking at everything, trying to make sure nothing, because she was still bleeding pretty heavily. And I look up, and she bites the cord in half, and I'm going, okay, I've never seen that before. But
you're like, but I know this is okay.
The indigenous tribes do things a little differently, and I kind of knew that because the midwives had told me stories. So anyway, I handed her the baby, beautiful little girl, and to this day, the baby still writes me. I keep up with them.
And
amazing.
And the interesting and not the grossest part I haven't even shared was that while she's sitting there and I'm kind of holding pressure on things so the bleeding can kind of stop, the placenta comes. And if y'all have had a baby, y'all understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So this is women. Y'all are women, so hopefully y'all okay with this. And she looks and she says, Dale ya, and she says, hand it to me. And I was like, okay, she's gonna put it in a shirt and keep it, because there's some rituals that go along with that. She started eating the placenta.
Right then?
Yes, right then. Y'all, I thought I was gonna die. And later, that one of the midwives told me that it's one of the best things they can do, because if you don't have access to prenatal care and postnatal care, that gives the baby, because immediately she went through skin to skin and breastfeeding, but it was an experience I will never forget. And I didn't want a girlfriend for a long time after that. I was done with women for a while.
You're done for
I'll be telling somebody else this
too
story.
much.
I'm gonna say, you know what? I just heard this amazing story. That's amazing.
Right.
But
I was about to say, most amazing
you
thing
have
I've
to have
heard.
some type of just confidence, because you have to go in there, turn the baby around, get the cord away from around the baby neck. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure on you.
Jump into action to do that. Most people would kind of either freeze or kind of ask somebody else for assistance.
I was so afraid the baby was going to lose too much oxygen that I couldn't, get it back.
Yeah.
But the baby was fine. And I guess, when it first breached the cord, the baby tried to turn, and that's what caused it.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
grateful that it happened the way it did. And, it's good to see that, she's in college now and went back for her
Amazing.
master's degree. She has a little girl
Oh,
now.
That's
And,
amazing.
Okay.
and her sister actually was Miss Dominica. She just won the beauty contest and has been traveling all over the Caribbean, island.
Look at
ooh.
For
the life
school.
Right,
that you saved. You never realize,
Right,
exactly.
right,
the
And it
chain
right.
just
effect.
kept going. You paid
And
it forward.
so, that's one of my funny stories from Peace Corps. But then I will share with you just briefly about, what was it, 5 years ago, we had Hurricane Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hurricane Maria hit the island where I was at a Category 5. And I re-upped my clearance and started working, relief efforts. Had satellite phones dropped in the community and started immediately working with hotel chains. They call me the radar because I have all those connections still from the Caribbean, even 30 years later. And I got in trouble with the ambassador and the United States ambassador in Barbados because I had negotiated with Venezuela Army to use some of their helicopters, and then I airlifted in doctors from Lebanon
Mm.
to work rescue and relief. And of course, of course, the U.S. doesn't like
I was
either one
gonna
of those countries.
say you were
Yeah.
really talking to a lot of
But
interesting countries there.
I was
Mhm.
doing that at night while I was working in the district I'm in now as assistant
Mhm.
superintendent, and I got a call one morning. The secretary, she said, "Mr. Day," she said, "there's a lady on the phone. She says she's the ambassador for the United States." She said, "Oh my goodness, what did she call me for?" And I said, "Send her through." I knew what it was. She said, "Michael." I said, "Yes." She said, "Did you do this?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "We're not happy about that." And I said, "Well, I understand, but let me tell you a story." I said, 2 hours after the doctor team landed on the ground, they rescued 4 children that were trapped in a cupboard.
Wow.
I said, and saved their lives. I said, so sanction me, fire me, cut my clearance. At the end of the day, lives were saved. And she said, that's all I need to know. And she hung up.
That's
Mm.
amazing.
So it's
Look
Yeah.
funny.
at God.
God has a
And
funny
she's about to get
circle in life
mad.
because 25 years later, I'm still working, because you build relationships. Life,
Mm-hmm.
value in life and wealth in life is not about the money you make. It's about the lives that you touch and the relationships that you build.
Exactly.
Amen.
Whether you're in
Amen.
business or your private sector or like me in education, it's all about building relationships.
Well,
Exactly.
thank God for people like you. We need more men like you in
Absolutely.
the world. You got some amazing stuff. What else have you done? Have you did
Right.
anything on the helicopter?
I have. I have crashed in a helicopter.
What?
Don't ask me that story. I was working with a
Oh,
military team in Central America, so
Some things you can't say.
yeah,
yes.
some things I probably
Definitely
can't
some
talk about.
things.
But let's just say the army over here, they have a base near where we live now, and they wanted to invite all the local community changers, they called us, and they wanted them to get a free ride in a Chinook helicopter. And I told Sergeant Major, I said, "Sergeant, that's okay. You go on without me." He said, "Why?" I said, "Because last time I got on Chinook, I crashed in the jungle. So I don't want to do that again."
Right.
So we're done with getting on the helicopter. It's not easy. I don't know who that is. But anyway, but as superintendent, like what's your dream for the education landscape and how do you see it evolving in the coming years?
In
Yes.
education,
Yes.
well, education's going through a change
Right.
right now. As you know, everybody, all the politicians like to say things, it's what the pendulum swings one way and the other way. We're under Mississippi, we've made some of the most, I think, really good gains across the nation, and they're even coming and looking to see what we're doing with reading now. A lot of that has to do with finally public schools received adequate funding through
Right.
um, the ESSER money we received from COVID during the pandemic, and we're able to bring in tutors and coaches and all kinds of extra people to work with kids. We have SEL counselors, and we saw a huge spike in threats of suicide and stuff like that.
Mhm.
When all that said and done, the the cool thing is we're making gains,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot to fight for. In public education in Mississippi, it's different in every state and every part of the world. But here, Giving our children equity is what it's all about. See, I've discovered in my travels, and I'll bring it back to the education question. I've ran into all over the world, no matter where I've been, everybody has value and everybody has an importance. And every moment in life is critical and important because we only get that moment once.
Right.
The conversation I'm having you, I'm only going to get this once. So something maybe I say or something we say to each other might change our lives. And we have to look at every interaction that way. And it doesn't matter if you're a janitor, it doesn't matter if you're a bus driver, it doesn't matter if you're an administrator or governor or senator. We all have the same value. And we just have to seek out what is the value that we all bring, what's our purpose and our why. We all have a purpose of what we think is our purpose, for what we do and why we do what we do. But there's another deeper question, which is why do we do the things that we do? And in my travels, I've run into people all over the world, from Eastern Europe to Central America to the Caribbean. I've learned so much from everywhere I've been, and the cultures and the attitudes and things. I've just, makes our experiences make us who we are. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, and sometimes ugly.
Right.
But in life, I've discovered that there are really just two types of people in the world. And, if we can agree that everybody in life is a victim, and I'm going to go somewhere with that. Everybody in life is a victim. And there are generally three ways you can be a victim in life. One is you can become a victim of what we call circumstances, meaning you can't help the family you're born into sometimes. You can't help the circumstances or situation you're born into sometimes. That's called existence circumstances, and sometimes we just can't help that. But we have learned that there are tons and tons and tons of examples of people who can overcome those circumstances. We can be a victim of situational circumstances, like when Hurricane Maria, hit the Caribbean, or any experience all of us had, a death in family, a loved one, or a car accident. Anything can change on a moment.
Right.
And those are called circumstantial, causes of us being victims of something. The second kind of victim in life that I've discovered is those that are victim of other people's choices. And I used to do clinical counseling for rape victims, and I can tell you that too many people say, you just have to go through the stages and you get better with it, and you have to kind of work your way at it. That never happens. You just learn to pack it away to where it no longer has control over you.
Sometimes,
Yep. And everything that happens to us in life makes us who we are, including things that are painful. And sometimes that pain, it never goes away. You just learn to let it control you less and less every day. So we can be victims of other people's choices. And that means people we love disappoint us, family, friends. Sometimes the ones you trust the most will be the ones that hurt you the most.
Man, amen.
And you can become a victim. You can become a victim of other people's actions.
Yeah.
And I'll talk later about how hurt people. But the third type of victim is the one that we run into a lot, that is the victim of other decisions that we make. So sometimes we are a victim of our own choices. We all make choices every day. We choose to get up, we choose to be positive, we choose to be negative. There is no motivating by other people. Everybody has to make their own choice to be great or not be great, to be depressed or not to be depressed. And I understand there's medical conditions and things like that can come into play, but we all know people who keep making stupid decisions and still don't learn from them. But so people can become victims of their own choices. But I'm going to tell you what I've learned. So if we all agree those are three ways that people can be victims, what I'm going to tell you is one of the most profound things I've discovered. There are two types of people in this world. The first one is the one that is a victim, that plays the victim, continues to be a victim, makes excuses for everything. We call those people toxic people. And unfortunately, toxic people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they don't even realize they're toxic just in the little things they say, the mannerisms, how they treat people. And people can be very manipulative and smug in how they treat others, not realizing they're manipulating everybody around them or trying
Right.
to.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Right, that's
seen
what I'm
people
trying to
who
tell
have,
you.
you have people who have low self-esteem, and because they have low self-esteem, they want everybody else to feel bad about themselves.
Right.
So that's one type of person.
Mm-hmm.
The other type is the person that recognizes that they have circumstances which create challenges and opportunities, and they choose opportunity over failure. They choose opportunity over accepting where they are. They fight to control their situation. They fight to change their situation. There are those that have situations where they're a victim of someone else's choices. Yes, sometimes we can't control what other people do. Some
Mm-hmm.
people have power physically or mentally over us. Mental abuse and physical abuse is where someone tries to assert power over you, and in that process, you become a victim. And honestly, I've learned that those who try to do that a lot, they're like bullies. They're really weaker on the inside than the one being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
Right, facts,
Absolutely right.
facts. I
So,
like how you put
yep.
that.
So
Hurt
when you
people
look at,
hurt people. You toxic people needs to go on somewhere.
that's right. See that she is empowering herself to change her destiny. That's what she's doing.
Right.
Thank you. Right.
Positive.
That
All
part.
my life I had to fight.
And
You
so,
know what?
when you look at the person who's a victim of other people's actions, you
Mm-hmm.
can still have power to choose how you accept, don't accept, stay in or don't stay in the
Right.
situation.
Right.
It's easier said than done. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the other kind, that person who is going to play the victim, we have friends like those. We have family members like those.
Mm-hmm.
They're always negative. Those people are never successful, no matter what you consider success, either in relationships, because they're going to have one broken relationship after another broken relationship after another broken, and then they're going to damage people along the way. They're like tires. Have you ever seen chariots with the spikes on the side? They're like
Right.
chariots with spikes on the
Yeah.
side. They're just going through the world, through life, tearing people up as they go through.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And the sooner you learn the skill of recognizing people like that and making a choice, okay, I can't save them. And I want to tell you now, and I tell women when we talk about rape victim counseling session,
Mm-hmm.
you can't save people. They have to
Yeah.
save
No,
themselves.
you're right.
You're
Can't
gonna
save
drown
anybody.
yourself if you try to save them,
Mm-hmm.
because they're gonna pull you under with them,
Man.
because they have to choose to make those changes themselves.
Yes.
So
Go on
if
and
we
preach it.
agree, there are everybody's a victim of something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna quote The Rock. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you can choose to overcome circumstances, what other people do to you, and learn to make better choices. That's not through education, that's through wisdom, because life will teach you one way or another.
Yes, it will.
Mm-hmm.
It will. You done
So,
said a
Hard
word
lesson.
tonight. You done hit home.
Right.
I'm about to make a phone call after this live. Let me tell you
Look,
something. My friend, my
these
baby
phone
said,
calls.
you toxic. I'm choosing not to react to what your decisions that you done made. But
yeah.
no,
But
but
yeah, that victim
that's the
mentality
truth,
is
though.
very, very prominent, and I can see that being in education. Like, how do you overcome that, like with students who have
Mm-hmm.
developed that? Because where your county is, and things that you have to overcome just with segregation still, which is insane.
Right.
You know, a lot of the students that you're teaching come with that mentality, are pushed with that mentality and things like that. So how do you like overcome that, knowing that those are the type of people that you're dealing with?
Every day.
Every single
Well,
day. These children at that.
when you deal with people who see the world differently,
Mm-hmm.
you have to understand you may or may not ever change their perspective. You would hope that if you give enough positive example, positive role model, that can happen. But people can be good people, but have bad habits
Right.
and bad perspectives. And
Okay.
now I hear people all the time say, they're good people, but they're racist. Well, see, I have a philosophy on that. I did a presentation at the NAACP rally last year, and I talked about social schizophrenia. And Dr. King, talked about social schizophrenia in one of his speeches, one of his better-known speeches. He just kind of touched on it, but didn't really go into much detail. But social schizophrenia is when you have people who suffer from split personalities, and I mean this metaphorically, not literally. They pretend to be one thing with one group, and then they're another way with another group. And we as a society have gotten to where we accept that as as the norm and as okay. And it's not okay. Because, I told the story, I was in a church, so I got kind of carried away and started kind of preaching, but it comes down to, when I told the pastor, I said, when I die, I want to go to heaven, and I want to sit on the side of, outside the pearly gates and get me a bag of popcorn and sit under a tree, because I wanted to watch all the people walk up to the door and tell St. Peter, I'm here, and he turns them around because their hearts are full of hate. And because they're not going to get in heaven with a heart full of hate. They can claim, these are bankers, lawyers, presidents of organizations, social clubs.
Good people,
Yeah.
They're good people.
Good
But
people.
they see people as lesser than them, and that's the problem I have. And that's when I talk about equity. And back in the day, we used to talk about equality, and we used to talk about it. Well, we got to get our vote. Yes, we still got to do all that, but now we need to be talking about equity, and that's providing opportunities for every child to have, or every person to have the same set of opportunities, and not be discriminated, oppressed, or suppressed in a position where they don't have those opportunities. And unfortunately, that's a lot of what we still see. We tried to do a bond issue in our community, and I totally get both sides of the perspective on that. And as a superintendent, I took a pretty good beating from the community because, we did not pass the bond to be able to build the schools and merge, both the schools together. And that is who my community is, and I have to accept that and still serve all my children. I love all my children no matter where they come from, my community, what they look like. And I have to model that for the others who don't model that. And when we did that, one of the things that I had to do was back up and wrestle with myself. And I say I wrestle with angels all the time, but I had to kind of back up and wrestle with the fact, okay, what now? And if I can't provide equity by bringing the schools together, giving more opportunities for our children, because it was about being able to give more opportunities, better educational programming, and put them on a footing to where they can be more competitive from kids who are graduating from top schools in the state. So I ended up working through a couple of foundations, and we were able to get a wonderful, wonderful gift from Mackenzie Scott Foundation. And the Mackenzie Scott Foundation, or Iron Horse Foundation, which is her foundation, donated to our school district. We created our own foundation and donated $3.5 million. And with that, we in turn created a scholarship foundation. So now all of my children who graduate from either one of our high schools can go to college free.
That is amazing.
So it's funny how you lose some battles, but the Lord always provides a way.
Absolutely.
That's only one step. And that's only one step toward providing, the opportunity for children. They still have to take advantage of it. We have to, as schools, prepare them to be able to be successful, give them the skill sets and the life skills to be able to, learn how when you fall down, get back up. I think the new generation, that's our biggest struggle, is teaching kids how to overcome life. I have a Zer who's in his first year in college, and every day when I say, son, you're going to take the trash, oh my God, I think I'm going to go commit suicide. This is just too much.
But
it's different, the different generations used to, you tell them take trash out, yes sir. Then you got to the age where you tell them take trash out. Do I really got to? I could take it out tomorrow because right now I'm busy. And then you eventually get to the generation to where it's like a life-ending experience you've asked them to do.
Right. My son take the trash out on his hoverboards. So
that's where we are now.
But in any case, it's a challenge. But I think it's when you look at what your why is and what your purpose is, your why is always greater than the challenges that you face.
Right.
your people want to be successful in life, and they want to set high expectations and high goals. But unfortunately, sometimes the work ethic or the level of commitment is a backyard, burger business, and you have expectations of running a 10
Ruth's Chris.
chain store restaurant.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No,
Um,
on it, seriously. Do you find it difficult being, such a forward-facing advocate on your own? Do you have to create a network? Like we always speak about, we're only able to do this or succeed to certain things because we have a strong network. Do you feel like you have that with your community and what you're doing and how you're getting these scholarships and things passed?
I think it's important to realize that no man or no person is an island unto themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We can isolate ourselves all we want, but if you want to truly achieve great things in which you're trying to serve a greater purpose than yourself, you have to recognize that you're part of something, even if it's just a part of a cause or part of a drive. Just like all of you and what you're trying to do to support one another and empower one another.
Yes.
If you don't recognize that the purpose far outweighs the individual, then you're never going to truly be successful. A success doesn't occur in isolation.
Right.
We're a part of society whether we want to be or not. We can be, recluses and introverts and stay in our homes, but if you want to really, find yourself in a position where you're making a difference for yourself and others, you got to have that network system. So to answer your question, there are lots of people who work with me, and we're not always on the same, mindset or, political parties and all that. It's much more that unites us than divides us. And if we work together with what's common, then you truly can achieve good things for others. Because the things that I do are never about me. I mean,
Right.
I am what I am. I'm kind of old and at my point of ready to ride off in the sunset and enjoy some naps.
Some relaxation,
My favorite thing now is to take naps.
Mine
But
too.
yeah, you get to a point in life where you value peace and you love peace. And across the years, I've worked in a lot of different places, and everywhere I've traveled, you build relationships and you really find a way to, whether you talk to them every day or not, they're special to you because they made you who you are. And then hopefully in some way you touch them in a way that changed them for the better.
sure.
Everything we do in life, we want to, leave it a little bit better than what we found it. Whether it's our children, I was a single dad, raised my kids for about 13 years by myself, including my niece. And I learned, you have to put others before you. That's what parents do. And I don't know how many of you have children, but you understand what I'm saying when I say that. For the longest, I learned to cook because, when I was raising my kids by myself, that was my peace.
Right.
I'd get in the kitchen and turn on some music while they were doing homework, and that was what kind of kept me motivated and going.
It's beautiful.
And so along the way, the pieces that everybody gives us of themselves make us who we are. And I'm grateful for, God's given me the opportunity. I call it grace and mercy. I should have died a long time ago, many times ago, and just having the opportunity to still serve and make a difference, and try to make a difference. It's not about me; it's about others. I hopefully have a true servant's heart. Not always been obedient, and sometimes the Lord whips on me when I don't be obedient. He brings you back 25 years later.
Exactly. Yes.
We most
bring you back to where
definitely
you're
want to give you your flowers because you've been doing an
No,
amazing job.
But the only thing I ever want to hear is at the end of my days, when it's all said and done, I just want to hear one person say, "Well done."
Well done. Yes.
Because everybody, whether we agree or don't agree on things, there's common ground that we can agree upon, and we all work together for the common good of everybody. And even people who I know, I get attacked on social media a good bit, and even though that happens, you still have to love those people. You don't have to listen to them. You can block them. I've learned to block folks.
Black being strong, I see.
But, everybody is unique in their own way, and there's good in everybody. don't have to agree with sometimes when they have perspectives that I don't agree or think are appropriate.
Right,
But,
right.
I'm not the judge and jury. That's left up to the maker to make that decision on them later.
Exactly. But you've empowered so many. So what's next on the horizon for Michael
Yes.
Day and the Marion County School District,
Well, I think
actually? And
my district's on a path, I think, to really do something special, something magical. Not because of me or my leadership, but because of the other people working, around me. My staff, my teachers, my principals, they have just worked so hard to really um, buy into the philosophy that we can be better than we are.
mm,
And not because we want to put a letter A on anything. It's about giving our children that opportunity
Right.
and giving them the means to change the future of our community, our schools, or, every child should be able to go to the next grade on grade level ready to go.
right.
And that's not been the case for a long time. And that's the case in a lot of schools. Schools fail children sometimes.
They
And
do.
one thing we've tried to do is really, it's hard. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. And there are days when I said, Lord, I just don't know if we can do this. And I start singing that old song. I'm not gonna sing it like this.
No,
But the
I'll sing
Lord,
it
He
for
heard
you.
my cry. But then the Lord will sing back to me and He says,
hmm
I charge to keep I have, so I have to keep rolling.
Yes, yes,
I had a unique experience. Right before Christmas break, I asked for a prayer breakfast with local pastors, and I had over 32 churches show up.
wow.
And that
Mm.
was pretty amazing. They said, what's your message? I said, I just want y'all to pray. Pray for the children, pray for the teachers. You don't even have to pray for me. You don't even have to like me. Just pray for my babies and make sure they work hard, they come home safe, they come back to school safe. My staff is in a good place. Because, the teacher is the one that makes a difference. I tell people all the time, I can't go and teach classes. I mean, I could, but I can't do them all.
Right.
So the teachers have to be able to, it's up to them. They have to make that choice. Our principals have to make that choice. And, that's why I go back to, I've learned you can't motivate people. They have to motivate themselves because that's a
Yeah,
conscious choice to be or not to be something, to do or not do something,
Mm-hmm.
or to consistently do or not do something.
right.
Right. Just like
People
learning
want to
right
work
from
out all the
wrong.
time. And, they want a slim body and want to look good and be muscular and fit. And I can tell them all day, hey, you need to go work out. You need to go work
Mm-hmm.
out. But they've got to make that choice themselves. And that's the same for our kids. So, for the future for my district, I think definitely good things are coming. And that will be because of others. Um, I believe in the coffee bean philosophy that I can only influence those around me in the water that I'm in. I can't motivate them. So I influence the ones that I can to become better and seek to be the best version of themselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and, after that, for me, I don't know. I think I'll always be a servant, even if I retire soon. And, I'm still going to find somewhere to go and try to work and serve others. I think that's just who I am. And, that's what God chose me to be. And I want to be obedient to Him and continue to try to make a difference for others, whether it's, I don't care if I go work in a refugee camp in Cameroon, I'll be happy to serve
Right.
meals. It's
Right.
something that serves my, you know, uh, fellow human beings to put a smile on the face, to make that one interaction, maybe make a difference for them.
That is
It
beautiful. And you are
is.
definitely doing that. We thank you so much for following your path and being obedient to, what God has set forth for your life because it really is making a difference. And thank you so much for joining us tonight and making a difference for us and our community in making sure
Right.
that we continue to grow and be inspired. And your light is shining. We are definitely seeing the grace and mercy of God that is touching all of those kids, raising 3.5 million dollars. You guys have to understand how much this is, especially in a rural place. You know what I'm saying? And him getting so many no's and these kids going
Right.
to college, you know what I'm saying, where that probably wasn't even an option many of the times. With me, when I first went to college, like I was looking everywhere and there weren't, and superintendents especially that were really putting forth that effort to make sure that their district, met those goals for everyone.
Right.
So I really do want to applaud you and just thank you so much for being such an inspiration and continuing to serve your community. It is something that we will definitely carry with us going forward as well.
And
I know
I want to
everybody
say
else is
thank you.
happy as well and inspiring.
Yeah,
You
thank
dropped
you for
some
the
gems for
opportunity.
sure.
Life has just been one of those journeys that gives me opportunities to learn, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to share with you guys
Yeah.
tonight. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
what you do, because the more we can help empower others, sometimes it only takes one word and you can make a difference in a life. So keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
I
Yes, it's all
apologize.
about creating that safe space. You know, like you
That's
said,
right.
everybody has to want to be motivated, have to want change.
See, way to go, Mr. Day, my favorite
Oh
principal from my
Lord,
childhood.
you know what I've just realized? I think I'm live on my social media, which means I probably had all these people listening.
Yes.
Uh, so if I call you tomorrow looking for a job, you'll know why.
No, you did amazing. And I know that that really inspired a lot of people and let people behind the veil a lot of times. You know, you only see the end result a lot of times of what these people are doing. And now you see like what it actually takes, what type of mental preparation he has to make every day to make sure that your children get home safe, they're learning what they're supposed to,
Right.
and
In
they
fact,
go on, you
yeah,
know.
and in fact, I've got to make a decision in the next 5 minutes of whether we're going to close tomorrow for bad
Right,
weather.
for the weather, yeah.
And if
Yeah.
this is live,
Right.
I probably just got blasted on social media. Yep, I'm seeing the comments come through. I probably just set myself up for another hour of joy and excitement. I go make a pot of coffee. No, let me stop it. Um, I have a lot of supporters in my community because, um, you try to do the right thing. Not everybody's going to be on your side for everything you do, and that's okay because that's life. The trick is to do the things for the right reason. The results will come.
Right.
Uh,
Amen.
I
Agreed.
have, plaques and awards on my wall, but anytime I got something like that, it came not because I was looking for it, because I was just trying to make a difference for others. And if there's something to be taken away from tonight, serving others is just truly the best gift that God can give us. That
Amen.
was what they modeled, Jesus modeled for us. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, or whether you were a prostitute or not. Jesus tried to serve and take care of everyone. Um, and I think every person deserves that same set of respect and
Amen.
love.
Yes. And
Well,
thank you,
thank you
everybody, so
again
much.
so much for your time, Mr. Day.
Yes, I appreciate it so much. And thank you for joining season 2, episode 2 of Sister Soul Sessions. That ends our night. You can catch Mr. Day on his social media, Carl
Oh,
Michael
no,
Day.
I'm blocking everybody after this.
and
I'm going to turn it off for a while.
catch him at the NAACP if you want to give a little bit on that before we go. Just that you are continuing to receive accolades and will be speaking going forward. Just want people to be aware of the things that you continuously do as well.
All right. Thank you so much. Y'all
Thank
have a good
Thank
night.
you.
you.
You have a good
Good
night as
night.
All right.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.